And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on Sunday Live. And it's time for a Sunday Live interview. And as I told you earlier, my guest in studio and to my immediate left is Joseph Kaguthi, who you'll remember as a former PC and also as chairman of the National Steering Committee on Community Policing.
Nyumba Kumi Initiative.
Yes, the Nyumba Kumi Initiative that we all remember. So welcome to the program. Alongside the Deputy General Secretary of the National Council of Churches of Kenya, Dr. Nelson Makanda.
Asante.
You're also welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Like I said earlier, I'm hoping that our conversation will transcend the politics of handshakes to real impact when it comes to cohesion, which is what both President Kenyatta and the former Prime Minister have said was the basis of their coming together after a very heated political period. So at the time that they shook hands, if you were to step back a bit, it was heralded as, you know, a first step to reconciliation. A lot of people were happy with that. And then there was the subsequent handshake of the former Prime Minister shaking hands with the retired President Moi. And from then on, eyebrows have been increasingly raised as to what the true nature of the handshake was. But if we were to, for tonight and for the purposes of this program, to hit the reset button, if you like, what will it take to make this initial grand handshake transcend the political fate of individuals to really being about solving Kenya's problems? Mr. Kaguthi.
You know, the question is, what is the meaning of this handshake? What are we reading? To me, we are reading that we don't have the politics of an ideology at all. We have the individual interests. If just by shaking hands, then all the fighting troops, political troops, they all disarmed. It means is individual interest, individual interest, individual interest. It means we ask the politicians to put their act together. That the politicians and their political moves, and the politics of competition, it is not yet right. And if they don't write it now, with this kind of handshake, the kind of situation which has come, we will again take long to appreciate this. I was in Wajir yesterday, and I can tell you, I was asking them, even you feel the same? Yes, because it cascades all the way down that division. And therefore, if we got to do anything, it is to ask ourselves, is this the right time? Is it not the right time now? We sit back, we institutionalize our politics away from individuals, rally the public in form of movements, so there is an authority which can now be nominating who their leader will be, the way the other countries we see them doing. They say this is the time for you to step down, including Mzee Mugabe or South Africa. Is it not the right time for us to now change our politics from being community kingpins sponsored by the community, called the tribe or ethnic grouping, and then there's a conglomeration of this ethnic group, that ethnic group, that ethnic group, and then we start making calculations. And then there are minorities who fill in those gaps so that to tip off
the scales.
The scales. So my prayer is, just the way, if you remember the way the president put it when he was addressing the state of the nation, he said, the citizen, I'm involved in the mobilization of the citizens, that crusade for the citizens to own security as a first line of defense. I'm involved in that campaign. But in those clusters, they are political, they are non-sectarian, they love one another, they handle their issues very well. And the president said, the citizens are ahead of you, dear politicians. You got to put your acts together. So for me, I was saying, there is need for us now to move as a country. One more step. We simply pick the Kenya we want system. We had one in 1962. We had another in 1978. Possibly this is the right time. Now that we become so nationalistic, we now take that step further. using this kind of situation which is prevailing in the country, and we get our professionals are being left aside. They analyze the kind of ideology that we want to follow, and then we see whether they can clarify so that the citizens now meet somewhere within, have the meeting of the minds as a grouping, as a movement. Then I'm now supporting Social Democrat, or I'm supporting Liberal, or I'm supporting this, depending on the way the articulation now is.
A kind of re-engineering of what it means to be Kenyan. The Kenya we want, I think, which was spearheaded by the former Prime Minister some years ago, making that practical. I was reading the one for 1962, and I compared it with 1978. And the challenges they were seeing that time, 62, the way they saw it in 78 is the way they are now. And even the challenge of the youth, corruption and so forth. Then we now have a movement, because if we have a movement as an ideology, so that the politics is no longer now based on my mother tongue, and my name betrays myself, I'm looking at it from that angle. We got to get a way of breaking that. Right. Dr. Makanda, your thoughts?
Perhaps it would be nice to, begin by appreciating the fact that the two shook hands, because as Kaguthi has said, he was in Wajir, and people are feeling that has created some relief, even that side of the country. And so it's important that we appreciate that the shaking of hands communicated downing of weapons of war amongst the two, and amongst the communities and the people that supported them. And so that is positive, as it were. And I would like to encourage as many as possible to follow that example, as it were, to allow us to be able to discuss these issues and to bring the critical issues on the table, because before then critical issues were being forgotten, because it was competition about which president, people's president or the president of the Republic of Kenya. And so the people's president idea has now disappeared from the picture. And so there's something positive that happened. Then secondly, it would be nice to say that we need to find out what has happened with our political structure as constructed currently, that communicates that it can only be two people. Because so that if these two people shake hands, it means exclusion of others. And therein lies our problem, that our structure has only allowed political inclusion of only two within government. And so the rest of the people that feel excluded politically then feel like this is against me, or this is meant to exclude our community, this is meant to exclude the rest of Kenya. And so Kenyans must begin to ask, is this the structure that serves us best?
The structure of government.
The structure of government.
Yes. Needs to be expanded to accommodate more.
Creating opportunity to allow, because Kenyans as communities, as much as Kaguthi is advocating for an ideology, I think our socio-political development as a people hasn't developed to a place whereby we can leave out individuals and begin to pursue ideology. Because majority of this republic, they're living on less than $2 a day. And so people like those, they still have a lot of hope in individuals.
In a Messiah
in a Messiah kind of a thing. It's until we have developed this economy to the extent that the size of the middle class has capacity to drive our political engagement. But as it is now, it is not possible. Communities have vested their interests, and they think that individuals, political leaders, represent their interests. And as far as we are still progressing slowly, it will be important that we consider the structure of governance in this country.
Do you think, because I was going to ask you what the role of the individual is in progressing, this handshake, because at the end of the day, when people pick up arms, it's not the politician who, well, you rarely see the politician actually arm themselves. It is often the everyday person. And you're saying to me that without a kind of economic development or empowerment of everyday Kenyans, they're still going to need, their fate will still be on individuals.
Yes.
They will not be able to think past that.
Because, look here, because people have shaken hands, you go to Nyanza and you hear people saying, now we are going to get roads. We are going to get development coming our way. But also, even the language that was used in campaign, during campaigns we were told, come, be part of us, so that you can enjoy development. And you begin to realize that then inclusion in government means, creates a lot of hope for communities. But if we had sufficient masses in this country who feel whether my tribe is in government or not in government, I will find employment because infrastructure will be brought my way and I can be able to engage as any other Kenyan. I can compete with everybody else.
Why hasn't devolution answered that?
Devolution is it's still a baby. Really, we're only saying 5 years of devolution. And so devolution is creating structures. It's beginning to percolate down, but the amounts of budget that is committed to devolution, if you have followed keenly, you realize that a very small percentage goes to development. The bulk of it goes to a recurrent budget. Right. And so as we continue to grow our economy and our budget, you'll assume that devolution will support that type of a move. But as it is now, we are still at the primary stages of devolution, as it were. So,
if Kaguthi, we would follow that hypothesis that that poverty keeps our politics at a certain stage of play. Let's leave that aside as
how do we leave it?
Do you agree? Do you disagree?
No, it isn't. Let me tell you, this is a phenomenon which started a decade or two ago. This phenomenon of bad elections, then invite people are up in arms with other people. I participated in the 1969 election as a clerk. 74 I was in Kakamega. With the biggest register. And we had elections. We never had people with machetes. You come to 79, I was back in Nairobi. That time I was D1 here. We didn't have this kind of phenomenon. Then you now come to 83. We didn't see that kind of thing. It started much, much later, particularly when the government started losing. We hit the crisis of confidence, 1988. Where the long queue, the short queue, we lost systems. Thereafter, you can see now we have been climbing because of the individualization of the competition. We have now been growing, moving towards individuals. Poverty are we now poorer than we were in 1979, 1974?
I think so. I think so.
No, for me. When I look at the way the situation was, even when you look at the indices, I do not think so. I am sorry, I don't think so. Because the rate of growth, immunization, just look at some of the indicators, the child mortality rates. They are the 5. Look at all those.
We're doing better now.
By far, just look at the indices. And even on education. On education, you know what happens now? There is perception, there's reality. Perception versus reality. I was looking at the other day some of sometimes you move out of your level. You look at the kind of media you have. So I've decided to sometimes monitor what Tanzania radios are doing and the TVs and what Kenyans are doing. We have perceived the country as if we are so weak, so poor. And when I look at the 1976, the Kenya shilling was the same level with the Tanzania shilling. What has happened?
What
has happened? this country now is a hard currency.
But having so let me even those two schools of thought, because I don't want us to
get stuck there.
From the topic. Be it that we are poorer now, or that we imagine that we are poorer now, whatever thinking that keeps us at a certain place in our politics. There is a 14-member committee that has been set up, a Building Bridges initiative. I wonder what you think their role is and what their first mandate should be, if you like, in bringing lasting and meaningful cohesion nationwide.
One will hope that they will take a retreat to be able to understand the problem and be able to then get clear instructions. We do not know what instructions they have been given because that has not been mentioned. We've only seen the title of their mandate, as it were. It's called Bridge Building Team, as it were. And so one can be able to decipher that they are meant to help us break the barriers that have existed before. But I think it would be nice that they take time to retreat so that then together they find a common ground. They find appropriate instructions, and one who want to begin to hear that their engagement is for Kenyans and not for the politicians that have nominated them into that
What would signal that to you? Would it be the talk of referendum that we're hearing so much? Is that the first thing that the Republic needs in order to heal?
I'm not sure.
We have a constitution that was kind of well-baked, but not really on some parts, like in terms of structure of government, and that's where you start fixing the Republic from, or elsewhere? I'm
not sure. The structure of government doesn't require a referendum. It is not such a critical matter to require a referendum. It's a matter that can be sorted out through Parliament, amending the Constitution. So really, I do not think that the priority issue is a referendum. The priority issue for me is to make Kenyans feel Kenyan. Because there are certain individuals in this country who feel have higher entitlement to the Republic of this country than others. And so their priority is to ensure that from the north to the south, east to the west, Kenyans feel they have equal chance and equal opportunity in their Republic. And I think when we restore...
And what makes that, I'm sorry to ask, but you know, what makes that tangible?
For me, there will be a series of things. There will be a series of things. There are people who have higher privileges than others. If my matter appeared before a security agency, my matter is dealt with differently. The way Kagudi's matter will be handled, and yet it's the same matter. So beginning with creating a message that tells Kenyans, we have embarked on a journey to make you as equal as anybody else. Just to make sure that Kenyans are feeling our matters are being listened to. So will it mean that they go to Mombasa or go to Mumias or go to Wajir and sit with people and let people make their voice heard and let them be that group of people that will then say, we have heard what Kenyans have said. We have looked at the problems that Kenyans were experiencing, and we have advised our leaders in this manner, in this manner, and in this manner. But then let our leaders not take that advice like they have taken other reports from other commissions, like they have taken reports that come from committees and taken them to Parliament to be amended and to be thrown away, but use the reports they receive from these elders to make this country better.
And I think it's important that we say that on the question of being equal, I think often you hear the discussion is about economic opportunity and the opportunity to lead. So making that very visible that we all have equal opportunities.
We all have equal opportunities,
I think key respects. For you, what would their priority be?
You know the fear I have in this country is the ignorance of professionals and their silence. Totally ignorant. Particularly where, I remember one baraza I held as a PC Kisumu, and we were in Homa Bay. And then some ladies produced some prescriptions of malaria, and they were waiting for their sons to send money using the then Akamba bus, the one used it to bring money.
Yes.
Akamba bus.
Yes.
And I remember when I explained my agony to the president, he sent an aircraft, a military, to bring a dawa to the PMO because of the way it was. You look at those situations. We are having a media core which is using what the Pope called corporophilia, looking for negatives. We are marginalized. We are this. If you burn it down to a professional level, you look at, pick just the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, you look at the data. Then you start sympathizing with Kenya because the professionals have taken leave, and those who are there, they are the people who follow more of what they are reading on the papers other than the actual. Readers.
You're saying inequality is perception and not reality? Let
me tell you, when you look at even the allocation of resources now, whether it is Youth Fund, Women Fund, you look at the pillars that the government is pushing, you look at the First Lady's moves, at that level, you see the country is becoming one. But when we are moving, then you get our professionals, they just go on a side of perception, sometimes in history, and start pulling everybody down. Now, come to the elders. The elders...
No, let's stay with that thought. Even if it is a question of perception, that some people tend to feel left out or whatever the case may be, and you're saying that hard facts would prove otherwise. How do you combat that imagery that we have in our minds that nearly brought the whole republic to the brink?
Yes, because politicians, addiction of administration, brought it this way. That if a politician sees that if Kifinya Kidore, your toe which is injuring, you'll cry very, very loud, and you are the person who is hated. They will stick on it. That is what is happening. We are having, that's why I talked about the Kenya We Want conference. You get the correct data portrayed here, and you get professionals giving data, those who are on bent on showing just one side of negativity. I'm so afraid because of when the professionals start talking like lay people. That even where, just look at one indicator. Calculate the amount of money which is, say, given to Kiambu versus given to Madeira or given to Bugoma. Bottom line, how much per individual? You'll find that talk of marginalization, it is more of the mind. And if there is that discrimination, Parliament, we should be able to see it during this debate of budget just now. Because there's equalization fund. There's this and this. But if we keep on holding our people from the professional point of view, telling them, serikali italeta maendeleo so that you don't work, you don't do this. If you go, there was one time I faced that problem. I faced the problem of industrialization. And then I asked in my field, which is the most rural industrialized constituency in the Republic of Kenya? Then the people I was asking, they just scanned Kiambu, they scanned Nyeri, they scanned until I told them it's Muhoroni. Azi? Yes. Then you tell them, yeah, you are starting Homa Mines, agrochemical, this is Muhoroni sugar, this is Chemeril, this is Miwani, then you come all the way to it. It's perception.
If you believe professionals then have vacated intellectual office, if you like, and created this perception, and then, that is what the Republic believes. And I think you have also accused the media of being complicit in something of the sort, being negative. At a kind of conference, like you're saying, the Kenya We Want kind of sitting down.
And we have the data.
But what I'm saying is that you're dealing with hearts and feelings and emotions, and that saying I'll give you statistics alone
we bring
does
facts.
Not...
And we help people positively. We get the clergy preaching every weekend. We get the Muslim imams and sheikhs saying, let's remove this. We have had a problem, and I pride myself using the campaign against drug abuse. The citizen participation in security. We brought the lecturers in Coast, talking to the lay leaders. Do you know the information which they were telling their people? I saw them changing. We have been using the theory, victims theory, then the marginalization, then discrimination by the upcountry communities. Then they were telling them, no, look at this is what we have, look at this is what we have. These people here in Central, they say we are the most marginalized, that's why we have jiggers. Let us talk, let's get to the people on a positive note. Otherwise, the way we are going now, if we continue with the professionals and the media and the spiritual organizations, again complaining against and quote unquote favored and unfavored, where are we going?
So civic education is
important. Now you are talking.
I think civic education will be helpful and
okay.
We need it.
Okay.
But I think Kaguthi is dealing with Kenyans like he has not been to the villages of this country. The villages of this country, people are saying, look here, in those years you mentioned, 1970s and 1980s, Kikomi industry was working. Raymond's was working. Cashew nut factory was
the PC. Yes, Kikomi was not working.
Yes.
It
I mean,
stopped.
Yeah. So people are asking, how come that this is not a priority? I just came recently from Western Kenya, and I was meeting leaders, and they're saying our sons and daughters who worked in Mumias Sugar Company now have no jobs. All of them are competing to be motorcycle riders. And that's not just a situation of Western Kenya. It's a situation of Central Kenya. It's a situation of Rift Valley. It's a situation of...
Those are facts.
Of the coast.
Those are facts.
So what we need to do is to be able to say, let's lift the masses. Let's lift the masses out of poverty.
How?
Because once we begin to engage that particular thing...
Would you agree, both of you, then, that... in terms of what this, because I was asking about the Building Bridges initiative, and you, Dr. Makanda, talked about opportunity and appearing equal, and you're saying that that is the case, but we don't see it. But you have both agreed on perhaps collapse of industries and things like that, and people who do not have real economic opportunity, that part of what will build the bridge will be creating those viable economic opportunities.
Provide an environment that enables these people to move their eyes from political competition to something that they are doing themselves as individuals. But as it is now, people are waiting Ruto to be president in 2022. People are waiting who is going to be president in 2022 so that their welfare is protected.
You know, and there's something that you are missing. You are missing this. I'm removing you from the politics of individual to politics of a movement where they can say, we go to Kasarani and you have not done very well, Joseph Kaguthi take over.
I like it the other way around.
Irrespective.
Go ahead.
so that we remove the individual.
You must
from
build your
the
middle
center.
class to get there.
So that we remove the politics of individual.
Yes.
That you go to Kambani, if you give so and so a job, then our Kamba wame. You know, as long as we are on that, we will get ourselves on a hole we are digging deeper and deeper. But because we are disagreeing on this particular area, he has a platform called the NCCK. I don't have one.
You have Nyumba Kumi platform.
You have Nyumba Kumi. Oh my gosh. Okay. No, but I think you're both bringing out different sides of the argument, and that's important. I want to just get into 2022 because everybody has gotten into it.
Yes.
And you've just raised it, that people are now pegging hopes on who is seen where. And let me start it this way. What is the place of the ongoing politics that we are seeing after the handshake into 2022, into even the talk of any amendments to the Constitution still being tied to a political end game?
I would go very quickly.
Why these two gentlemen were elected in the first place with a big four agenda platform? Where is development?
That's,
How is it
platform. That's what I would like to go. I saw him persuading the members of parliament. Please help create the environment, the legal instruments to carry on this agenda. The basic needs is the health, the food, the housing, isn't it?
And jobs.
Then jobs through industrialization.
Yes.
Create those laws. Bring up the special economic zones. Spread them. If somebody like the economic minister planning, Ouko, came out, and the growth centers he was envisioning, if you go to session paper number 10, and the population growth rate, which was being seen that time, if we don't manage our planning well, the jobs, the demand for jobs will be surpassed so badly by the jobs that we have. So every government which is coming is struggling on that. So it is upon our own professionals. I would now be expecting the universities, instead of fighting to tax us more to pay them, that they now come with the kind of projects and brains where we start creating industries to support this fourth pillar of industrialization to create jobs. If we continue now and we go to morning, we are poor, we have the economic opportunities are not there, how will they be created unless the professionals come out? And the spiritual organizations like NCCK, please give people hope so that they can start also initiating. Go to where positive is. But negativity from morning to evening, then every time I open the media, I see negativity. Then you switch off because you don't want to get stuck there. We want to get leaders who are helping the whole country to mobilize themselves positively, feel proud of the country. And where there are problems, then the politicians and the other leaders, they get together and sort it out.
But let me put it this way, that after the handshake took place and the subsequent handshake, I think really from Raila's handshake with the retired President Moise, when a lot of things really started to raise question marks as to what could have been agreed from the previous handshake. And it got us into this conversation about politics, the politics of 2022, where a republic feels that we have been reduced to just voting machines, from one election to the other, as long as you go Bonyeza, it's like that's all we're about. If you would now, Dr. Makanda, talk about how that is affecting development, because here on the one hand, there's a deputy president who has his ambitions, and everybody is seeming, to be quite interested in how that will play out vis-a-vis all these other handshakes. Kenyans are left wondering, okay, so what happens to the job for the next 4 years? I
think it would be nice for Kenyans to know that Kenyan politics evolve and change very quickly. So we shouldn't make conclusions out of the handshake, because in January and February, Kenya was very different. Only 60 days later, things are looking very different. So for me, I will not invest too much in what has come up out of the first handshake and the subsequent ones, because things will still change. The only thing that will not change is their status if they do not get back to work. And so what should be happening as the politicians coalesce and begin to plan for 2022, Kenyans should take the opportunity that has been provided by the handshake, the calmness that has been provided by the handshake, to get to work, to get to school, to resolve their internal emotional issues within communities. And I think that's what the elders are meant to do, to resolve the negative feelings that existed amongst communities, sort out those things, so that then we can use the next 4 years as Kenyans, because I promise you, in 2021, the political environment in this country will be different. In fact, the arithmetic will be very different.
So nobody should take all of this too seriously?
Yes.
No,
Joseph?
there is something else that you need to do. This is an opportunity. which has come, where everybody, even those who talk politics throughout, they have all come down. They have started now. I was in Kisumu with a meeting. Then I went to Bugoma. Then I went to Keno. And I can tell you the differences. You get people who are heavy on politics throughout. Others are on what partnerships can we create? What can we do? Where are the opportunities? And in Garissa, in Wajir, I saw them, the boys. They are now thinking, how can we use the ways of art? Because, you know, they are very enterprising. Now, this is what we ought to do. We reduce politics in the country. If we can reduce politics in the country, and that's why I'm calling for that meeting where professionals, we start now asking the University of Nairobi, touch base with the industry. Technical University, touch base with the industry. Kimathi University, touch base with the industry. Maseno, touch base with the industry. Let's start now moving towards that direction. Right. If you continue taking so much time on who will be, you know, on the top 3, the top 4, the top 5, here it's not taking us far. Let's reduce quite a bit of that, but use this opportunity now that they are disarmed and have meetings, leaders conferences per region. We used to have them. Anytime I had problems in education, like 1994, Nyanza performed very badly. I called the 3 days meeting, we discussed that. HIV, 2 days meeting, we discussed that. That is what we require. Solution-based, not complaining, not telling the citizens that the opportunities are not with you as long as your person is not in State House. We must still reduce that. I don't know whether you are getting what I'm saying. And those elders, that the 14 of them, I'm expecting them to start reducing the negativity and go for solutions. And we tell the other leaders, both spiritual, those elected, and those who are within the executives. I am very happy when I'm listening to some governors. Look at what Governor of Machakos has done. No, Makueni. He has a big factory. He looks at the facility, the crops within Makueni, and they have a big factory on canning. This is what I expect. Not politicking that unless Kalonzo is in State House, then we will never come out to poverty ourselves as a Kamba. Unless somebody, Kikuyus or perish. Unless this one, no. I'm moving away from that. I
wonder, gentlemen, because we're out of time, if you realize that at the end of the day, we seem to have agreed on something which is economic development. Kaguthi, you, when you're talking about people meeting together and talking about industrialization, having our, you know, the thinkers, if you
mobilizing the local resources,
mobilizing around that, then we've agreed that moving the economy forward appears to be
a key thing.
It is critical
for both.
But economic development, as it were, in most places, it follows socio-political development. And so Kenya must sort out its politics. If we do not sort out our politics, then we are going to sacrifice economic development. And that's where our proposal comes from as NCCK. Create an opportunity for more communities to feel they're politically included, so that then they do not feel that they have been isolated and they begin to blame their problems, perceived as it might be, on other communities and on their exclusion from political engagement. So socio-political development usually leads, as it were. And in this country, if we do not sort out that, then we will always sacrifice economic development.
For me, mine is very simple. I would like the national government coordination officers, like the way I saw as I was leaving Wajir, they were fixing the education, and they invited the cabinet secretary and all the leaders appointed, elected, and even the local, the county government. They were all together. That's where we go, and we bring hope to those people.
That's our time on the interview. Thank you.
Too short.
For the great conversation. Do you know how long you've been seated here? Very long.
Yes.
That's our time. Thank you.